Welcome to South Korea, the land of perfect skin, perfect idols, and the K-face. That sounds cool until you realize this place is racist as hell. And it's not just racism. They went from dirt poor to richer than Japan in 30 years. Somewhere between building Samsung and perfecting fried chicken, they decided that looking down on poor people was a sign they'd finally made it. Today, I'm showing you how South Korea discriminates against people who share their exact DNA, and a lot of others. And before you come at me for being racist, wait for the end. When South Korea got rich, like really rich, something weird happened. The country started acting like it had just joined an exclusive country club, and immediately became obsessed with keeping out anyone who wasn't wearing the right outfit. After the Korean War, Korea had its rapid economic transformation in the 70s through 90s, also known as the Miracle on the Han River. It took the country from poverty to wealth in a single generation, but that rapid wealth created a mental hierarchy. Rich countries equals modern and superior. Poor countries equals backward and inferior. That's like when your family finally starts earning money and suddenly your mom is judging other people's houses. Because the richest, most powerful countries in the world are mostly Western and white, South Korea started copying their attitudes. South Korea looks up to the US more than any other country in the world. They began seeing themselves as part of the white club of developed nations, even though, they're not white. But it's not only racism. North Korean defectors escape one of the most brutal regimes on earth. They risk execution, torture, and watching their families disappear into labor camps. They make it to South Korea, the promised land, expecting to finally be safe. And then, South Koreans treat them like garbage. 1 in 5 North Korean defectors reports direct discrimination. At work, at school, in dating, in job interviews, some get bullied so badly they stop telling people where they're from. They hide their background like Filipinos hide their gamer tag. It's hard to distinguish South Koreans from North Koreans until they speak. North Koreans speak Korean slightly differently, and South Koreans mock them for it. Many North Koreans train themselves to speak properly just to survive. They literally erase their own voices to avoid discrimination. Imagine having to escape North Korea and then being punished again because of your accent. That's like if I would punish you for not subscribing. And I wouldn't. But please, still consider it. Companies won't hire North Korean defectors or promote them. Employers assume they'll be less productive or loyal. Their unemployment rate is double the national average. Their wages are 16% lower than Korean citizens. These are people who share the same DNA, the same ancestors, the same 5,000 years of history with South Koreans, and South Korea still found a way to rank them as inferior. If it was really about cultural differences, North Koreans would be welcomed. They're the most homogeneous people you could possibly find. But they're poor, and they're from a failed state, so they get discriminated against anyway. The hierarchy goes deep. There's a Korean saying, "Yakuk gangshik," the strong eat the weak, and this holds for all people. South Koreans look down on poor people within their own society as well. Migrants are treated like they're lucky to be there. Poor Koreans, they are seen as failures. This is exactly what Squid Game is all about, showing how society treats the poor like they're disposable, and how the rich just use them for their own benefit. But you can make yourself look more wealthy. The entire Korean beauty industry, worth billions of dollars, is built around this one message: the whiter your skin, the better your life will be. This is happening in most of Asia, but South Korea does perform more plastic surgery per capita than anywhere on Earth. And the most popular treatment is the double eyelid surgery to make eyes look bigger, and rhinoplasty to create taller noses. And this ideal hits women the hardest. Korean women face brutal pressure in job markets, and relationships based purely on appearance. Some women report being rejected for jobs because their skin wasn't pale enough. Look at every famous actor, singer, or politician. Almost all of them are pale-skinned. Nobody even pretends otherwise. They just call it improvement. You might have heard someone say that Korea is fundamentally different and that they can't handle diversity. Both progressives and conservatives use this exact same argument, and both sides are using a racist argument without realizing it. This idea about a country being fundamentally incapable of change is not new. Throughout history, governments have claimed that they couldn't change because it's just who they are. But Western countries aren't different. They didn't accept immigrants because they woke up one morning and decided to be tolerant. They accepted immigrants because they needed workers, and morality is a lot easier when it's also profitable. Look at Australia. The country kept the White Australia policy until 1973, only 50 years ago. Their population was too small to survive economically. Suddenly, the entire excuse that Australia couldn't handle non-white immigration just disappeared. Germany had the Holocaust. The United States had Jim Crow laws until 1965. But we don't say these countries are fundamentally incapable of change. We recognize that they changed. They changed through new laws, through court battles, and through generational replacement. And this pattern continues today. Britain voted for Brexit explicitly on anti-immigration sentiment. The entire campaign was about stopping immigration. Yet after the vote, immigration to Britain actually stayed high and even increased. So why do they say South Korea is fundamentally different? Real immigration to South Korea started in the 1990s. That's only 30 years of experience. Western countries have had centuries to figure this out. It's like saying a teenager is fundamentally incapable of learning to drive when they've only been practicing for a month. Now let me show you how deep this discrimination actually goes. Because South Korea has a problem. They need workers, but nobody wants to do the dirty jobs anymore. So they import them. From Vietnam, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Nepal, and various African countries. Young men desperate for work, desperate to send money home to their families. What happens next is where the racism stops being subtle. When migrant workers arrive, managers sort them by appearance. Lighter-skinned Asian workers get assigned to better jobs with safer conditions and slightly higher pay. Darker-skinned workers, especially Africans, get the 3D jobs, dirty, dangerous, and difficult, the ones with the highest injury rates. The National Human Rights Commission reports migrant worker industrial accident death rates are 1.7 times higher than Korean nationals, which is a really polite way of saying we let foreign workers die at twice the rate because we don't care. One extreme example is that since 2015, at least 522 Thai workers have died in South Korea, 84% undocumented. One Thai woman worked 15-hour shifts with 1 day off monthly, fearing she'd fall asleep and never awaken. These little ghosts operate outside legal protection. The government knows this is happening. They just don't care enough to change it, because cheap migrant labor keeps construction costs down and keeps farms running at full capacity. South Korean prosperity is literally built on the backs of people the country refuses to treat as fully human. So is it actually changing? Yes, it is. Younger South Koreans show significantly more acceptance of immigrants than older generations. This is generational replacement, the exact same mechanism that transformed attitudes about segregation in America. When South Koreans actually spend time with immigrants and people from different backgrounds, something remarkable happens. Their prejudice drops dramatically. Real friendships and direct interaction change people's minds far more effectively than education campaigns or government mandates. Young South Koreans are actively organizing to fight back. They started the Against Hate Challenge to counter online hate speech and create alternative narratives about immigrants. Civil society is pushing back against the system. Policy changes are beginning to happen. South Korea doesn't have a comprehensive anti-discrimination law yet, which is embarrassing for a developed democracy. However, the government is now discussing new legislation. The language itself is shifting from the phrase illegal immigrant to the phrase undocumented migrant. And these language changes matter because words shape how people think. Of course, not all South Koreans are racist. Many are actively fighting against it. Young people are already different from their parents. The system enables racism, but individuals are pushing back. Hopefully, we will look back at it in a couple of years and see the results of it. If you would like to learn more about racism, then watch my video about Asian versus Western racism here. And to learn why South Korea is actually doomed, check this video.